Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
Even the batch of micro-drones that relied on the rock Thunderbird to clear the way out of the siege also encountered a rain of world-destroying meteorites just when they were about to fly out of the Arctic ice sheet. So to this day, there is still no information about the situation in the land of adventure. But fortunately, there are several groups of fresh troops sent by the Wolf King one after another, and the human army has reinforced the defenses. Therefore, if it is just some ice crystal monsters that attack, then the little lone wolf is still confident that he can defend it. Now, most of the oldest members, who once followed little lone wolf in the land of adventures, have reached level 20 or above, and there are quite a few who are even close to king level. Fanlang and Connor were the first to be promoted to Yilang's right-hand men, and they both reached level 35, possessing the combat power of high-level king beasts. In addition, black wolves, six-toed wolves, and purple-backed wolves have also transformed into new species. The rock Thunderbird has also reached level 37, not far from the ultimate king beast's combat power. As for the various forces that came to aid, such as the evil tiger, the condor, Tiffany, and Khan, they did not catch up with the fiercest fighting. Although the number of members under his command has not been reduced, relatively speaking, there has not been much improvement in strength. After all, only the fight between life and death is the fastest way to break free from the shackles of the body and undergo transformation. In addition to high-end combat power, the current defensive force of the Land of Adventures is not only the Wolf Pack division that it once commanded, but also the newly joined group of 300 meshes and beasts, the 20,000 fully armed elite special forces led by Tiffany, and the evil tigers, 5,000 strange beasts plus the charge that changed the large herbivorous species. It can be said that the defensive power of the Land of Adventure has been enhanced by a lot. Such a strong defensive force, coupled with the containment of the little lone wolf and rock Thunderbird, can resist even the attack of world-destroying beasts. Because let alone the world-destroying level, no matter how tyrannical a being is, once it is restrained until the physical strength, original power, and mental and soul power are all exhausted, it is equivalent to a tiger without minions. I'm just afraid that what will come next will be the terrifying existence that causes such vast energy fluctuations in the far north. At this time, the little lone wolf standing on the ice wall, while calculating the defensive strength of the Land of Adventure, was also looking at and feeling the energy fluctuations in the distance with a solemn expression. A few days after the extraordinary forces in the mysterious iceberg in the far north began to clash, the situation in the rest of the world also began to become chaotic, and the turmoil this time is far greater than any before, because with the breath of the devastating storm between heaven and earth, all ethnic groups basically started activities, especially the large-scale movements of human births in the past few days have stimulated the other major monster groups. Nowadays, there are only so many resources and blood food in this dead world. If humans, as the world's overlords, take more, then there will inevitably be less of them. Before the doomsday catastrophe, this contradiction was not so acute because there are enough resources, but now this contradiction has reached the point of being irreconcilable. Even during this time, the six major human forces, the Science Alliance, and the major monster groups have begun to fight against each other. South Africa, the extraordinary forces resurrected inside the pyramid have become a faction of their own. Apart from sending 3 immortal pharaohs to Egypt, there has been no movement. However, these 3 immortal pharaohs did not make any moves to seize power. They were like mindless puppets, guarding the safety of the entire blessed land of Egypt. But after many requests from Egypt's current pharaohs, 2 of the immortal pharaohs finally walked out of Egypt and began to show their power on this African continent. Help Egypt and the African Union to hunt down other ethnic groups across the African continent. During this period of time, every immortal pharaoh, through various inferences from the African Union, has approached the world-destroying level of combat power. Not only is it approaching world-destroying combat power, each immortal pharaoh's ability to recover and heal injuries is even closer to immortality. So with these 2 immortal pharaohs as blades, non-human groups across the African continent began another round of destruction in the dark, kill, boom, da. In this African continent that has not yet returned to light, all kinds of shouts of death and the roar of technological killing weapons are also heard. The smoke filled the sky, adding color to the already dark sky. Energy fluctuations also swept across this continent, adding a more tragic look to the continent that was already riddled with holes under the rain of world-destroying meteorites. Blood and broken limbs were flying around mercilessly. It's just that after the doomsday catastrophe, resources are extremely scarce. Therefore, even the pieces of flesh and blood that were bombarded to pieces by technological weapons, were picked up by some human warriors. As for those parts of the alien beasts that were relatively intact, they were meticulously cleaned by the human logistics team. After these 2 or 3 months of post-apocalyptic catastrophe, all major human forces have understood the seriousness of supplies and food in the future. Although all the major forces still have some inventory, they are allocating it carefully. The soldiers at the bottom and their families can only struggle on the line of survival, which leads to the situation on the frontline battlefield, where even scraps of meat are fought over by soldiers. This is the end of darkness, the norm in the Japanese era. At this time, the pure blood obtained from this bloody killing and the occupation of small blessed lands made the entire African Union's leaders even more eager to stop, and could no longer suppress the raised butcher knife. Millions of surviving elite warriors, following 3 immortal pharaohs with world-destroying combat power, are like the god of death, mercilessly harvesting the few living creatures on this continent. But soon, while waving the butcher's knife, he collided with other groups of monsters that also started to move. A group of hyenas with a half-destroying leader, and the remnants of the original invincible lion group have gathered together, launching a counterattack against the O forces. The alien beasts of today's era have natural advantages over the surviving existences in other eras, because in today's era, alien beasts can mobilize the ultimate combat power without any scruples, but for those who survive, it will be difficult to return to the peak even if they burn a body of divine essence. Therefore, even if they are only half-step world-destroying contemporary beasts, they dare to go head-to-head with the immortal pharaoh. Soon, the most bloody and tragic collision between large ethnic groups officially started on the African continent. Roar! Ouch! The roar of the lion and the roar of the hyena shook the heavens and the earth. Countless human warriors also died in this roar. The African Union, which originally raised the butcher's knife, also began to pay the price with blood. Relying on the immortal pharaoh's strategy of pushing the sharp knife flat, he finally hit the iron plate. Human forces, the invincible lions, and this group of alien hyenas were mortal enemies before the doomsday catastrophe, and now they are once again colliding fiercely on this African continent. Except for South Africa, this is true for the rest of the region. It's just that the human forces in the rest of the area obviously don't have the help of the immortal pharaoh, and the friction and collision between them and the other monster groups is even more tragic. There were even human forces in some areas that suffered heavy losses in the collision. Kangaroo country, there were fewer than tens of millions of humans in this area, and 70 to 80% of them died in an unprecedented apocalypse. The only 5 to 6 million humans left were unable to compete with the remaining ethnic groups that survived in this area, because any ethnic group that can survive the reign of world-destroying meteorites must have at least a half-step world-destroying leader. Even the rainbow snake and the Ye-god sacrifice hall, which were regarded as the last talismans by the Kangaroo Kingdom officials here, sheltered many humans after their recovery. But after the doomsday catastrophe, like the snakes under the bloodthirsty python, they began to keep humans in captivity, using humans as slaves and blood food. The remaining 5 to 6 million humans simply cannot escape the clutches of these ethnic groups and the resurrected supreme beings. The Kangaroo Kingdom, which is also a force among humans, has basically fallen. 2 to 3 million humans were kept in captivity by the rainbow snake and the Ye-god, while the rest of the humans were struggling to survive in the battles between other ethnic groups. Nowadays, humans in the Kangaroo country have lost control just like the Indian country. Beizu is a large force formed by countless small countries. It is extremely powerful and is only inferior to Longuo and Wezu among the 6 major human forces. Due to Beizhou's strong strength, he basically wiped out all the other mutant groups before the doomsday catastrophe. Therefore, after the doomsday catastrophe, there will be no turmoil among mutant groups at all. However, the most powerful existence that has revived in this area is in fierce friction with Beizu forces for the right to speak in this area. Wezu. This was originally the most fertile and picturesque area, but a doomsday disaster destroyed everything. It's just that after the official forces of Wezu came into being, they obviously didn't care about the destroyed ecological environment, because in such a dark doomsday era, humans don't know whether they can survive. So why can't they go crazy? Do we also need to take into account the so-called ecological environment? Do you really think that humans can still maintain their position as world hegemons? Just like what Merc, the strongest person in Wezu, said half a month ago, they have decided to use nuclear weapons. Now, it has been put into practical action. At this time, large ton nuclear weapons one after another exploded in this area. Boom, boom, boom. One after another shocking mushroom clouds are also rising over this piece of Majo continent. As the commander of this second nuclear annihilation, Merc wore the ultimate mecha and watched such a shocking scene without any change in his expression. Merc's golden eyes were full of indifference, looking at the mutant groups that had been destroyed by nuclear weapons one after another and survived. "Non my family, its heart must be different." Even though Merc saw thousands of lives dying in nuclear weapons, he was still as cold as ice. He even saw the Baimua wolf pack, which was known as the official enemy at the beginning. Several of the brave and capable wolf kings were turned into corpses in this terrifying nuclear weapons destruction storm. I also saw the extremely fast world-destroying jaguar, which was also running away like crazy and avoiding nuclear weapons, and finally disappeared after being severely injured. This time, Weezu used tens of thousands of nuclear weapons to cleanse the area where mutant groups were likely to appear. The Meijo killer scorpions, red fire ant colonies, etc. were all destroyed in this nuclear weapons washout that was inferior to the meteorite rain of destruction. What a heavy loss! It's just that the nuclear weapons cleansing, which is almost equivalent to the second annihilation of the world, has also completely destroyed some of the blessed places that still existed in Weezu. Even a few of the most powerful beings who had recovered were taken care of by Weezu nuclear weapon. Hundreds of nuclear weapons exploded at every turn, causing some of the strongest beings who had never recovered from their injuries to die in the roar. Even though there were some powerful beings who fought their way out with unparalleled combat power, they could not escape the encirclement and suppression of the 8th generation killing fighters and ultimate mecha warriors equipped with the latest divine energy gathering rays. One by one, the most powerful beings with no fighting power fell in frustration. As for where Meozu will go after the nuclear weapons cleansing, the people in power in Meozu, who have been driven crazy by various pressures, have not thought too much about it. What they are thinking about right now is how to destroy all these monster tribes. They also firmly believe that as long as all human beings enemies of life and death are dead, then human beings can reproduce and survive even if they rely on cannibalism. Sakura Country. As an island, Sakura Country was hit by the aftermath of a world-destroying divine thunder. It was torn apart and sank in the Pacific Ocean during the Doomsday Catastrophe. A terrifying long snake resurrected among them, which took away many humans, and finally settled on an island. But because the terrifying long snake did not intercept the spiritual essence, these humans became its daily ration. Tens of thousands of humans are eaten every day. With their clothes washed away by the sea water, the human beings from the Sakura Kingdom, hiding alone on the island, were numb, and they didn't know when death would come to them. And some of the desperate new humans also relied on their own force to vent their bestiality among the surviving people. As for the people in charge of the Sakura Kingdom, who originally wanted to repeatedly jump between the Theological Alliance and the Scientific Alliance to obtain the greatest benefits, now their eyes are filled with despair and they are muttering unknown words. Their wives and children also suffered the most abuse and persecution among the disorderly crowds, because oppressing the powerful people and their families at the beginning can satisfy the hysterical animal nature of many people before they die. In short, countless lives are dying in every region of the world. The inhumane dark era after the Doomsday Catastrophe has completely begun. Human life, damn it, beast life, no matter what kind of life, it is insignificant in such an era, because even the most powerful beings who have recovered will perish in the face of the crazy nuclear bombs of the American officials and their desperate encirclement and suppression. No one can guarantee immortality in such an era. No one can guarantee that they will be the strongest in such an era, because this is an era where cruelty and madness are infinitely magnified. There is no strongest here, only the craziest and most ruthless. And just when all the surviving ethnic groups and beings around the world are doing whatever they can to survive and go further, only the central region, where the Theological Union is located, the Yue and Long Country regions, where the Science Alliance is located, the Siberian Plains, where the Arctic wolves are located, and the Mun Country region, where the wolves are monitored, have not been stained by the tragic collisions between ethnic groups. The Bloody Earth, because the strongest monster group in this area is still sharpening its sword, and has not really been born. At this time, most of the world was in turmoil, and Su Lin on the top of the southern mountains was still evolving into a clone. His spiritual soul power, origin power and chi and blood power were all surging all over his body. During this time of evolving clones, Solin also deeply realized how difficult it was to separate a clone with independent consciousness and combat power. What needs to be paid is not only the huge spiritual soul power, the power of the origin and the power of the blood, but also some of the origin of life. The origin of life, the more powerful it is, the less it will give up. That's because the origin of life is like the most fundamental source of species. If it is missing even a little bit, it is equivalent to an extra crack on an originally flawless porcelain. Maybe this porcelain can still sell for a sky-high price, but after all, it will never be comparable to the original price. Therefore, once the origin of life is damaged, the limit that can be reached in the future will be damaged. The more the origin of life is lost, the lower the limit to which it can grow in the future. This is actually the biggest difference between the strongest existences that survived in other eras and the strongest existences in today's era. The most powerful beings who survived in the remaining eras had very little life origin left. Therefore, even if we are really facing a desperate situation of life and death, we can only burn the divine substance, but we cannot burn the origin of life. Once the source of life is burned, they may die in an instant, even if they are unlikely to last long after being revived. But now, in order to successfully condense the clone, Selene had to split some life sources and gather them together. Fortunately, during these days of endless evolution, Selene also successfully evolved 2 clones. The 2 clones were in the shape of light and shadow, and they were quietly wandering around Sulin. Each one exudes tyrannical waves. Just because of the difference in the injected original power, spiritual soul power, chi and blood power, and life origin, the 2 clones are also obviously stronger and weaker. The strongest one among them has been infused with 3% of Selen's life source. At the same time, the source power, spiritual soul power and chi and blood power are also gathered the most. This clone has about 20% of the combat power of Selen's real body. This is already extremely rare. After all, Su Lin's 20% combat power alone has definitely reached the upper world destroying level. Having this clone sitting in the southern mountains is the real strongest weapon, even if the rapid Golden Wither attacks. With the clones as a containment and the wolf garrison as an auxiliary, they can still contend, even if a pack of wolves is hunting. As long as there is an alpha wolf and a wolf king, who can contain the prey, then even if it is a living creature, it can kill its prey. In addition, the clone has no body, so it can change in many ways. The strongest clone was the same as Su Lin's real body. Even the wings of the Sirius were transformed. The weaker clone has less spiritual soul power, original power, and energy and blood power. Especially regarding the origin of life, it can be said that Selene only left a trace of the origin of life, and never really injected the origin of life into it. Because the origin of life is too precious, once it is truly damaged, it will be a very heavy blow to Su Lin, who wants to climb to the top. Even if it is only slightly damaged, countless spiritual essences will be needed to make up for it. Therefore, this weak clone has no real source of life injected into it. In this way, even if the clone is completely shattered, it will not interfere with the main body. But relatively speaking, the combat power of this clone is also very different from the other one, but it can only reach the world-destroying level of combat power. This clone transformed into an Arctic silver fox similar to Hongwei, and he was going to place this clone next to Hongwei. After all, in the future Red Tail will lead the Prairie Wolf King, Chilling King and others to conquer 2 blessed lands in the Ming Kingdom. Su Lin is not at ease if Hongwei is not given some trump cards. It is very difficult for the members of the Wolf Pack to reach this point. He does not want the various members of the Wolf Pack to suffer serious losses, and judging from the signs that the most powerful beings of all tribes are establishing ethnic groups, in addition to controlling territory and assisting in killing in the future, ethnic groups also have other very important functions. Otherwise, for many powerful beings, especially those at the level of the speedy Golden Wither and the bloodthirsty Python, it would be more advantageous to act alone. With their level of strength, as long as they are not bent on seeking death, even if they are surrounded by tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of elite alien beasts, it will be difficult to keep them behind, especially the speedy Golden Wither, which relies on air supremacy and unparalleled speed in the world. If you really want to leave, you can say that the sky is high and the birds can fly. Even Su Lin, who has awakened the Sirius wings, would have a hard time intercepting the speedy Golden Wither who only wants to run away, because it is far more difficult to kill the opponent in pursuit than in a head-on battle. Therefore, the true role of the ethnic group may not have been revealed in this world at all. At this time, Su Lin was on the top of the southern mountains. After condensing the 2 clones, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Immediately afterwards, a part of the spiritual essence stream was split from the original space again. These spiritual essences are also injected into the 2 clones. After injecting these spiritual essences, the 2 light and shadow clones are even more shining. With these long rivers of spiritual essence, these 2 clones can also maintain their combat power for a longer period of time. At the same time, during the infusion, Su Lin also split some spiritual essence and swallowed it silently. Because he evolved 2 clones, he also needed a lot of spiritual essence to replenish his state. The long river of spiritual essence stored in the original space is also rapidly reduced amidst such squandering. At this time, Su Lin also saw gray disappearing prompts popping up in front of his eyes. Ding! Congratulations to the host for eating spiritual essence and obtaining 3,653 evolutionary essences. Ding! Congratulations to the host for eating spiritual essence and obtaining 3,652 evolutionary essences. Ding! Congratulations to the host for eating spiritual essence and obtaining 3,651 evolutionary essences. Sulin's evolution potion has not been interrupted these days. Even though he has swallowed 1.5 rivers of spiritual essence, under 3 times the evolution value, there are still more than 3,000 evolution essences swallowed each time. In his estimation, the evolutionary value provided by the 10 rivers of spiritual essence still remaining in the original space can at least allow him to advance to the 3rd level. But after level 3, the evolution value Sulin needs will skyrocket to an even more exaggerated level. By then, even he himself would not know where to get such vast amounts of pure energy. The combat power brought about by genetic transformation and evolution is far beyond the comparison of other mutant organisms, but the resources consumed are really huge. The pure energy consumed by Sulin now breaking through the 1st level can almost support an ordinary beast to reach the world-destroying level. Therefore, it can be said that his huge combat power, which can easily fight enemies across dozens of levels, was obtained in exchange for massive resources. But it also means that the limit of Sulin's growth is stronger than that of ordinary mutant creatures. If Sulin grows to the extreme level, it is difficult to imagine how terrifying his combat power will be. I'm afraid it can reach the point where it truly makes the whole world tremble. In this thought, Su Lin circulated the long river of spiritual essence at a faster speed. Time passed by, and not long after, the remaining half of the spiritual essence was squandered. In his squandering, Su Lin accumulated more and more evolutionary values, and the 2 light and shadow clones he evolved became more and more solid. After a few more hours, 1/5 of the spiritual essence stream was split again. The river of spiritual essence that the 2 light and shadow clones can store has reached its limit, and Sulin has also reached a limit by devouring the river of spiritual essence. The pure energy converted from the wolf's body, limbs and bones by the devouring power is also rapidly replenishing his consumption during this period. At this time, after stabilizing his breath, Su Lin suddenly realized, and the 2 light and shadow clones left the mountaintop like streams of light. While leaving, the fluorescence emitted from the light and shadow clones also began to be restrained, reducing consumption. Moreover, the light and shadow clones all had hair that transformed into them, gradually becoming a clone that was difficult to distinguish between real and fake. Kiang's clone seemed to be Su Lin's shadow, just like him. This clone was hidden in a bunker that only Sulin and Sander knew. This bunker was also transplanted with dozens of mutant plants that grew in a dark and damp place. The pure energy and mysterious power derived from these mutated plants in the bunker are enough to maintain the basic energy consumption of this strongest clone, allowing it to maintain peak combat power. This clone was also regarded by Su Lin as his last trump card to guard the southern mountains. It will not be used until it is truly lost, because this clone contains 3% of his life source. If it is really damaged and swallowed directly, it is hard to imagine how great Sulin's loss will be. At that time, I am afraid that even a long river of spiritual essence will be difficult to replenish the 3% of the origin of life, because the more perfect it is, the harder it is to complete it. Besides, another clone that transformed into an Arctic silver fox quickly lurked next to Red Tails like a real Arctic silver fox. Whether it is the Sander, Silver Ring Viper, Black Rat, etc. stationed in the southern mountains, or the Red Tail who is about to go on an expedition, Su Lin did not inform them of the existence of his clones. Things are accomplished through secrets, and failure is revealed through words. If the whole card is known to others, then this whole card can only be a strong card on the surface. It is no longer a trump card that is hidden in the dark and can determine the outcome if revealed. In addition, without telling Xander and Red Tail, Su Lin also wanted to see how they performed when they faced real crises and difficulties. After both clones disappeared from sight, Su Lin withdrew his attention. In a flash, he disappeared from the top of the mountain. This was his first time coming down from the top of the Nanjing Mountains in more than 2 months. Su Lin returned to the main cave of the wolves. Just when he returned to the cave, the first person to discover him was not the other elite members of the wolf pack, but the Black Demon Marten, who was half destroying the world. After all, even if the Black Demon Marten suffered heavy losses, its senses were still at the top level. At this time, the Black Demon Marten was still suffering from the burning pain of the mental imprint. It's just that in this pain, the arrogance of the Black Demon Marten not only did not fade away, but became more and more swollen, and even the ferocious color in the pair of pitch-black eyes became more attractive. If it weren't for the restriction of the spiritual imprint, the black demon mink, which had not even recovered from its injury for 2 to 3%, would have rushed out of the wolf cave. Even after Su Lin arrived, there was still no ferocious look in Black Demon Martin's eyes. Scatter it away. It forced its body to stand up, looking at the invincible Wolf King, who made it feel desperate and made its spirit and soul tremble, and there was almost no desire to resist in its heart, but the arrogance emanating from its bones still supports it and refuses to surrender. More than 3 months have passed since the bloody battle in the Gobi Desert. During this period of time, the Black Demon Martin also sensed the Wolf King's desire to subdue it. After all, if he didn't want to subdue it, how could he have kept it alive for so long? But the arrogance deep in his bones, and his ambition to swallow the lives, souls and blood of millions of species in advance to the world-destroying level, make him unable to lower his head. But at this moment, the Black Demon Martin never expected that this Wolf King, which was more than 100 meters tall and looked like a prehistoric beast, just stared at it for a moment without even a mental wave to persuade it to surrender. Boom. Then with the roar of a huge sonic boom, the Wolf King arrived like a phantom, and then a wolf claw, that was countless times thicker than its body, seemed to fall from the sky, directly smashing its upright body ground. Immediately following it was an unimaginably vast spiritual soul power that directly invaded its sea of consciousness. The overbearing soul-linking talent can be activated instantly. At this time, Su Lin's blue wolf eyes were full of coldness. He didn't even look at the black demon mink at all. He is given this black demon ferret, who possesses the secret of time, more than 3 months, but since it doesn't want it, you can't blame Su Lin. As for the trace of confusion in Black Demon Martin's eyes, it was not noticed at all. Being entangled can only mean that Black Demon Martin has not yet clearly understood this cruel era. In such a dark doomsday era, no one can give up and perish. What's more, Su Lin didn't directly kill the Black Demon Martin, he just used another method to make it surrender. At this time, under the suppression of Su Lin's powerful mental and soul power, the soul-linking talent was going very smoothly. The dense spiritual soul threads are spreading and eroding Black Demon Martin's mind, and they are also intersecting and controlling all the spiritual soul power of Black Demon Martin. And in the soul-linked binding, Su Lin also had a thought in mind and took another look at Black Demon Martin's strength attributes. I found that the strength of this Black Demon ferret indeed has the qualifications to match its arrogance. Peak level 57, which is several levels higher than the Steppe Wolf King. What's more, it is a spiritual alien beast, and it is a spiritual alien beast that possesses several spiritual talents and time secrets. With such strength, it's no wonder that Black Demon Martin is rumored to be able to rival the world-destroying level. If the Black Demon Martin is allowed to devour the souls of millions of species and alien beasts in the Gobi Desert, and this Black Demon Martin continues to advance several levels, it will indeed be qualified to stand at the pinnacle of the alien beasts. It's just that in this world, there are never what-ifs. This beast was once the strongest alien beast master in the central region, except for the Theological Alliance. Now, under Su Lin's strong claws, he has gradually become another puppet among the first-line talents in the soul line. But this also means that in the future, the mind of the Black Demon Martin will be marked as a war servant and a puppet for the rest of his life, and he will never have the chance to climb the highest peak of mutant creatures. As Su Lin's spiritual talent progressed, Black Demon Martin's fierce resistance soon became weaker and weaker. Because his mind was bound by the spiritual talent of Soul Link, he was also branded as a puppet. This branding does not damage the species' natural potential, but it greatly reduces its character. There will no longer be any thoughts of resisting the talent caster, and the mind has completely become a puppet and a servant. The orders given by the talent caster will be carried out without any hesitation or consideration. The domineering and unparalleled spiritual soul has a thread of talent, and the species after binding is definitely the most qualified death warrior. Even if it is allowed to die in a sea of knives and fire, there will not be the slightest hesitation. Even in desperate situations, the spiritual will left by Su Lin can take over and burn his life source to obtain the strongest power and fight to the death. You must know that when the Black Demon Martin was attacked by the secret technique, he was unwilling to burn the source of his life. But now that it has become a puppet, when it comes to real desperation, it can no longer be controlled. It's not even a desperate situation. As long as Su Lin burns its life source in order to win, it won't be able to resist at all. After about a while, the talent of Soul Link completely controlled the Black Demon Martin. The original arrogance and ferocity in Black Demon Martin's pitch black eyes were gone. At this time, the Overlord who once dominated the entire central region seemed to have become a well-behaved black mouse in front of Su Lin. After the Soul Link was successfully bound, Su Lin also regained the coldness in his eyes. Following a thought, a part of the spiritual essence was split from the original space, and began to be poured into the seriously injured Black Demon Marten. Under the control of the spiritual talent of Soul Link, the Black Demon Marten has no worries about rebellion. Therefore, Su Lin wants the Black Demon Marten to regain its strength quickly, which can be regarded as another trump card for the Southern Mountains, especially the Black Demon Marten's time-defying secret technique Cloud Mist Lock. It was defeated by Su Lin like last time just because the strength gap between the two sides was too big. At the same time, because the range covered by the Cloud Mist Lock talent is too large, if it is reduced to a certain level, it can be regarded as a powerful weapon, whether it is to lock the enemy or defend. After all, the Cloud Mist Lock talent can reduce the flow of time, and it can also speed up the flow of time. It can even reduce and speed up the flow of time in a targeted manner. It's just that the latter consumes too much spiritual power and pure energy, and it can't be sustained for more than a few minutes with the strength of the Black Demon Marten. At this time, when Su Lin was pouring spiritual essence into Black Demon Marten's expression also flashed with gratitude and excitement, and the arrogance he once had was no longer visible. Soon, Su Lin split about 1/10 of the spiritual essence. After entering the Black Demon Marten's body, these spiritual essences not only helped the Black Demon Marten recover from his injuries, but also subtly nourished the Black Demon Marten. The origin and foundation of once the Black Demon Marten recovers from its injuries, it is very likely that it can take another step forward. But relatively speaking, the speed of climbing in the future is probably much inferior to other evil beasts. Next, after Su Lin finished taking care of the Black Demon Marten, a pair of wolf eyes looked at Xiao Hui and the group of elite wolves, who were still sleeping in the deepest part of the wolf cave. When Su Lin came to the front, Dan took a glance and found that the strength of Xiao Hui and this group of elite wolves had also improved a lot compared to last time. Xiao Hui's strength attributes are almost equal to those of the invincible tiger. Most of the remaining elite wolves have transformed into new species, and a small number have also reached near king level strength. I'm afraid that waiting for them to completely absorb these divine substances, there is a high possibility that all the more than 200 elite wolves will transform into new species. At that time, if all these elite wolves are equipped with specially made perfect level meshes, then these more than 200 elite wolves will definitely be able to compete with the world-destroying mutated creatures. Therefore, once Xiao Hui and the more than 200 elite wolves under his command wake up, they will definitely become the most dazzling beings among the wolf pack. At the same time, they will also be truly qualified to serve as Su Lin's personal guards, especially Xiao Hui, who is extremely talented. He is the alien species that awakened earlier than the little lone wolf. He has followed Su Lin since he was a cub, and he is his confidant, so Su Lin was still looking forward to the moment when Xiao Hui woke up. At this time, looking at the sleeping Xiao Hui and more than 200 elite wolves, he evolved several spiritual imprints and left them around them to protect their safety. At the same time, about 1/3 of the spiritual essence stream was split and injected into their bodies along the gaps in the solid divine material. The long river of spiritual essence is the absolute rarest thing in this world. This is made up of the purest and most essential spirituality of hundreds of millions of beings. The source of life and energy contained in it is enough to repair all injuries in the world and nourish all species. Even if it is only 1/10,000th of the spiritual essence, once it is poured into an ordinary plant, it can transform into a mutant plant. Therefore, whether it is less than 1/10 given to Black Demon Marten, or 1/3 now split between Xiao Hui and this group of elite wolf clan, it is an amount that cannot be underestimated. With this third of the spiritual essence, Xiao Hui and this group of elite wolves will probably be even stronger when they truly wake up. At this time, after Su Lin finished all this, his eyes flickered and he saw the Jin Jinghu next to him, signaling the golden crystal fox to continue to guard Xiao Hui and this group of elite wolves, as well as a group of new species of blood food and bright sun remnants stored in the wolf cave. This batch of new species of blood food and the remains of Guangming Hui are also high grade among the wolves' current food reserves. They are also the best rewards for future leaders of the wolf pack who have truly achieved military exploits. The pure energy contained in the remains of the bright sun can enhance the steppe wolf king, which shows the vastness of its pure energy. The truly top blood food and pure energy in the wolf pack's reserves have always been at Su Lin's side. As for the more rare spiritual essence river today, it is stored in Su Lin's original space. This long river of spiritual essence cannot survive in the outside world for long. Once it lasts too long, it will overflow between heaven and earth. As Su Lin left, Jin Jinghu, who already had near king level strength, chirped respectfully again. then continued to lie down in the most inconspicuous corner to guard. At this time, the entire 15 members of the wolf pack were still busy and preparing for war. After all, if you want to mobilize more than 20 million species, this is a huge project. What's more, these species still belong to different races. During the mobilization of the 15 members of the wolf pack, Selin once again took up residence in the wolf pack's cave and began to recover. At the same time, extremely powerful senses are also spread across the thousands of miles of southern mountains, feeling all the movements of the members of the 15 wolf pack divisions. But everything he felt did not make Selin very optimistic, because after the doomsday catastrophe, the 15 wolf packs quietly hiding in fortresses and underground fortifications had some friction, but they were still tolerated. After all, most of them are species that have survived fighting in the cruel nature. It is normal to be wild and untamable, and it is also normal to compete for food. But now that they are truly mobilized, the friction between the various parts of the wolf pack has become extremely intense. There is a language barrier among the various tribes of the wolf pack, coupled with the usual fights for food and some minor disputes on the battlefield. As a result, fights and killings are taking place in the southern mountains every moment. There are not only fights between ordinary members and ordinary beasts, but also many involving ye-wolves and even high-level ye-wolves. You must know that the second wolf and the high-level second wolf are already middle and high-level in the wolf pack. There are more or less many members of the alien beasts under his command, and the battles between them will inevitably lead to fierce group battles. In Su Lin's powerful sensory perception, the gray lynx under Bai Dai has already transformed into a new species, the green-eyed wolf under one-eyed wolf, the bloodthirsty bear under warm bear, the war sparrow under Arctic tern, etc. are all here. This kind of friction appears frequently. In addition, there are many Yilangs who Su Lin did not give a code name, who are also involved in this friction. Just feeling the struggle and fighting between these members, Selin's expression did not waver at all. Even if he smelled the instigation of the real high-level members of the 15th wolf pack behind these members, he was still as calm as water. Because there are so many more than 20 million species in the wolf pack, there are so many that it is impossible to effectively manage the wolf pack using the previous management methods of the wolf pack. Friction and strife are bound to occur. Even if human beings once claimed to be a civilized society, how could there be less friction and struggles among them? Wherever there are people, there are rivers and lakes. This sentence is never just a saying. So with so many strange beasts in the wolf pack, how could there be less friction and fighting? Even these frictions and battles were probably supported by the 15 commanders of the wolf pack. On weekdays, the one-eyed wolf, fox wolf, Arctic Yanu, Wenshong, Sander, Vincent, Invincible Tiger, and even the newly added Steppe Wolf King, Hanchan King, and Giant Sheep King, etc., are frightened and groveling in front of him? But how can a mutated creature like this climb to the level of a supreme being in a pack of wolves that respects strength and preys on the weak? How can he suppress the tens of thousands of ferocious beasts under his command? Therefore, even the good old man when shown may have already changed his character after he truly began to take power. Without a heart that is kind, and not in charge of soldiers, it is impossible to hold the position of commander of various ministries, because among the wolves, members under their command have never been prohibited from challenging the leadership position. But now the 15 commanders of the wolf pack are all in command positions, motionless, which is enough to explain something. Even in the Arctic ice fields, there are still some members who dare to challenge the leader, but now there is very little news of the challenge. This proves how much the real high-level prestige of the 15th wolf pack has grown. So now, while Su Lin is feeling the friction between the wolf groups in the southern mountains, he is also thinking about more effective management methods for the wolves in the future. The management of more than 20 million species has never been a truly simple matter, especially in the future, when the wolves truly sit on a vast continent like the Arctic ice sheet, the Great Self, and Mun country, and begin to formally establish their own civilization. Management will be the top priority. As the former world overlord, human management regulations. There are many things that can be learned from this example, but after all, wolves are mostly alien beasts that are killed step by step. They are wild and untamed, and if they really want to apply the rules of human civilization, they will probably face a lot of backlash. Therefore, Su Lin is seriously thinking about future management measures. As for whether the commanders under his command will support their troops and respect themselves, will they really become rebellious in the future? Su Lin thinks not. At least if you are still there for one day, then they will work conscientiously in their position for one day, because anyone who dares to rebel can be brought down by Selin if he can lift him up. As for the last Steppe Wolf King, Chilling King, Giant Sheep King and Shadow Insect, it was just because of one position. That's because they are beasts and have opportunistic genes in their bones, and they haven't really shown any rebellious intentions, so Selin can let them go once. But for those who are truly ambitious, Selin will make them regret having such thoughts, and it will be the kind of heart-wrenching regret. In Su Lin's thoughts, time is passing by little by little. His incomparably powerful senses still enveloped the entire southern mountains. Then, when he made another mental wave, signaling the wolf pack's 15 commanders to speed up their preparations, the friction between members of the various divisions in the southern mountains was reduced a lot under the high-pressure situation, and they all quickly became busy. The members stationed in various battle forts and defense fortifications are also being mobilized and replaced one after another. And this time, above the Altai Mountains, a powerful being whose whole body is shrouded in light and shadow, relying on only a river of spiritual essence to survive. Its powerful senses have already sensed that the number of alien birds and lurking foxes around the Altai Mountains is increasing day by day. These alien birds and fox tribe are obviously monitoring the Altai Mountains. Even beyond that, whether it was the mental fluctuations of the species in the Siberian plains that were lucky enough to survive, or its powerful intuition in the dark, they all felt a power like a wild beast, which had already set its sights on it, and the Altai Mountains. But standing on the Altai Mountains, it looked to the south indifferently. Those eyes hidden in the light and shadow did not show any fear or retreat. On the contrary, they were even more firm and determined. If Selin comes here again, he will find that this powerful existence on the Altai Mountains will feel very familiar. Not because of anything else, but because this supreme being is also one of the shamanic totems. The position of shamanism in the hearts of primitive inhabiting races such as the Great Eye, the Moon, and the Inuit often surpasses the three major religions, just like the position of Buddhism in India. But now this being shrouded in light and shadow is obviously more powerful than the thundering sky eagle. In addition, there are vague shadows of several shamanistic totems surrounding the light and shadow. There is also a shadow of an eagle flying back and forth among them. The shadows of these totems make it look like a real living god. The pair of eyes hidden in the light and shadow of this supreme being have been quietly looking at the southern mountains. All the strongest beings born in the world undoubtedly want to seize their own opportunity and continue to climb to the strongest level in this era without the suppression of the will of the earth. All things strive to survive. All species can board the single plank bridge that they struggle to cross. Once they cross, all the costs they have paid for surviving will be made up in an instant, because after surviving the struggle of all things and truly transcending, the whole world will be filled with their wills. All the rules of this world will be trampled under their feet, and they will also gain the greatest opportunity in this world. As for the competition between ethnic groups, the same is true. Which ethnic group truly becomes the strongest in the struggle for hegemony among all ethnic groups, and establishes a truly hegemonic civilization, then it will also gain unimaginable luck and faith. Therefore, whether it is the resurrected supreme being or all the ethnic groups today, they are working hard for this last and greatest opportunity. The road to becoming the strongest is destined to be filled with endless bloodshed. The most powerful being standing on the Altai Mountains also knows that as long as it does not want to give up this sheltered blessed land, it will inevitably have an inevitable confrontation with the so-called Arctic Wolf King. At this time in this world full of turmoil, fighting and bloodshed, time is extremely long for the hunted tribe. After all, the time of escaping and waiting for death is the most difficult, and every minute and every second is extremely painful. For those groups and mutant creatures that kill red-eyed people one by one, time seems to be extremely short. As a large-scale shopping spree continues, days will pass by quietly. Now, several days later, the competition between the major regions in the world is also becoming more and more intense. Many ethnic groups with powerful existences have begun to take over. On the South African continent, a bloody battle between humans and mutant races came to an end. Two immortal pharaohs relied on their abnormal recovery abilities to kill the hyena king. At this point, the king of the mutant race, who once roared proudly in Africa, has fallen. However, at the last moment, this hyena king also burned away all the source of life, and used the secret technique of death to deprive one of the immortal pharaohs of his life. The male lion king led the remaining lions and hyenas, fought a bloody path, and began to flee. This battle was unprecedentedly brutal. Countless elite African Union soldiers died in the battle, and countless mutant creatures also shed blood on the African continent. It was this war that sounded a wake-up call to the African Union and many people in power in Egypt. It may be impossible to continue the conquest with the sword of the immortal pharaoh. As for the direction of Baimuo, due to the nuclear weapons cleansing by human official forces, countless powerful beings and monster groups have been seriously injured and killed. Although some powerful beings, even if they die in a nuclear explosion, their physical bodies still exist. This provided the Bimu human forces with a lot of materials to build the ultimate armor and some high-end pure energy, but these gains are somewhat insignificant compared to the destruction of Bimu's ecological environment. Bimu, which was destroyed twice, may find it difficult to restore its normal ecological environment in a short time. Bimu, which originally had the most beautiful grasslands, hills and forests, now no longer has any blessed land, and is filled with spreading nuclear clouds and ruins, and the scattered nuclear radiation is as lethal to humans as cosmic rays. Therefore, humans can only hide again in the underground Great Wall and the strongest fortress. However, the food and resources stored in Bimu can only sustain the human race for a few more months at most. In addition, coupled with the interception and selfishness of the high-level people in power, I am afraid that it will not be long before the doomsday tragedy of human cannibalism will occur in these underground Great Walls and the strongest fortresses. In addition, the negative consequences of nuclear weapons are far more than that. Those mutated creatures and some underground heterogeneous insects that survived the nuclear blast were quietly mutating in the nuclear radiation. One of the jaguars, whose hair had been stained with blood and black and whose true appearance was unclear, was lingering in a deep underground cave, licking its wounds. The pair of eyes, that originally had a stunning golden light, have now turned black and gray. The several lines on the back that represent the original power also quietly change from gold to black-gray. This jaguar's eyes, from time to time, a hint of cold murderous intent and hatred flashed through his body. The remaining strongest beings in the Meiji continent, who managed to survive, were silently recovering from their injuries in the quietest corners. I believe that once they recover, the initiator who planned this nuclear weapons massacre will usher in truly bloody and crazy revenge. Direction to Beizu. The official human forces in Beizu have completely come into contact with the resurrected supreme beings, the most powerful technological killing weapons, and the pinnacle mutant creatures of the past era, have launched the most intense confrontation on this land. Among them, Beizhouse man-made god Kronos also let the whole world see the power of Beizhouse killer weapon in this confrontation. After Kronos was transformed, a lot of divine substances were injected into it. However, the gifted Kronos was able to break the perfect operation of consciousness and use these divine substances. Therefore, not only is his vitality and recovery power so strong that they are almost heaven-defying, but his combat power is also astonishingly strong. Besides, the secret technique of Kronos awakening is an extremely rare secret technique with dual rules of time and space. With this secret technique, even though Kronos' combat power could only reach the half-step world-destroying level, he still assisted the killing fighter in the ultimate mecha, and forcibly suppressed the two resurrected powerful beings. He just continued to use secret techniques, but in the end, because the divine substance burned out, he was torn alive in mid-air by the most powerful being. Beizhouse trump card and strongest man fell like this. However, it has also provided the best proof to all human forces in the world, that is, the most powerful existence is not invincible. After the fall of Kronos, the conflict between the human forces in Beizu and the resurrected supreme beings became more intense and completely entered a white-hot stage-long country. This silent ancient eastern country, because the information is so well kept, no one knows how many powerful beings have appeared in Long Country, which has the largest population and combat power, but only the local humans living in the underground Great Wall know that the vast energy and the roar of technological weapons within the territory never stop for a moment. The corpses and blood of human beings and mutated creatures were piled up and flowing throughout the Long Kingdom, even the central region. The Theological Alliance also took action again. Thousands of divine servants, hundreds of king beasts, and the speedy Golden Wither were fully born, surrounding and suppressing the nearby small ethnic groups that had not yet surrendered. Don't ask the reason, don't listen to the cry. If you take action, you will go towards the extermination of your race, ecosystem, a complete food chain. None of this can overshadow the fact that today's food resources are extremely scarce. Even if a world-destroying meteorite rain destroyed more than 90% of species, the remaining blessed places in the world would still not be able to support the remaining species. Therefore, the evil group of people who are red-eyed can only focus on the present. Bloody killings that often result in the extermination of tribes and species have become the norm in this dark doomsday era. In short, conquests in various regions of the world are now gradually escalating. Even the Science Alliance, which has been busy building communication facilities and collecting and mining the remaining resources of the collapsed underground Great Wall, has also taken part in this conquest that has spread all over the world. It provides all major human forces with the most cutting-edge technological weapons, as well as genetic warriors. The last batch of genetic warriors improved by divine substances all possess high-level king-level combat power. Coupled with the perfect Mecha 2.0 version, their combat power is self-evident. After these genetic warriors and various technological killer weapons were put into battlefields in various regions, the whole world was almost burned red by the flames of war, and also dyed red by the blood of all ethnic groups and species. And when the outside world is raging with war, now in the southern mountains, the entire wolf pack of 15 units has also been completely mobilized. At this time, more than 20 million species in the southern mountains have all walked out of the battle forts and fortifications. They gathered into tribal phalanxes one after another, waiting for the Wolf King's review. Now they all raised their heads high, looking at the giant silver wolf that was 1,560 meters long on the top of the southern mountains. That is the supreme existence of the wolf pack. He is their invincible and invincible king. Now, the entire 15 wolf pack is standing silently in its position, not daring to make any noise. The southern mountain range, that stretches for thousands of miles, seems to be silent at this moment. You know, this is more than 20 million species. No matter who sees this scene, it will be unbelievable, especially humans. Humans who have studied more about the nature of beasts will never believe that more than 20 million species of different races are looking up in such harmony and quietness. But the truth always trumps everything. After Su Lin's extremely powerful aura was completely released and truly enveloped the entire southern mountain range, such a grand scene appeared. At this time, the sky above the southern mountains was also filled with the sense of solemnity before the war, because the general mobilization of the wolf pack has been mobilizing for nearly 10 days. In these 10 days, even ordinary species, no matter how stupid they are, and have not yet awakened their senses, have felt the war and murderous intent that is about to come. Yilang and Gao, who were promoted from the 15th wolf pack, the second wolf, is at the forefront of each group. They are the most powerful members of the group, and the aura rising from them is naturally the most tyrannical. Then, after Su Lin Dandan reviewed it for a while, he took another step forward. The enthusiasm, awe and admiration in the eyes of the more than 20 million members of the entire wolf pack became even more intense at this moment. The fighting spirit and killing intent rising in the air are even more intense. However, under the impact of this unimaginable fighting spirit and chilling intention, all members of the entire 15th wolf pack suppressed their true nature. When the Wolf King didn't give any signal, even though they wanted to howl wildly to vent their inner wildness, they didn't dare to howl or neigh. This is the monstrous power of the Wolf King that is incomparable among the 15 wolf packs. At this time, the blood mist in the sky also dissipated a lot. There was no longer a dead darkness between heaven and earth, and wisps of long-lost sunlight began to shine through from the sky. These sunlights shine on the entire southern mountain range, making this area that has not been eroded by the catastrophe of the world more peaceful and beautiful. And in this sunshine, the eyes of all the members looking at the Wolf King seemed to be shining brightly. Now, all the members of the 15 wolves standing together in the southern mountains, at this moment, have no past grudges, no past frictions, and no previous infighting, because at this moment, their fanatical eyes could only accommodate the huge silver wolf shadow on the top of the mountain. Soon, after Su Lin Dan glanced at it for a moment, the leading wolves at the peak of power in the wolf pack also appeared behind Su Lin one by one. Red Tail, Charming Fox, Warm Bear, Arctic Swallow, Invincible Tiger, Black Demon Mink, White Butterfly, Black Rat, Silver Ring Viper, King Bison, Sander, Vincent, Jackal, One-Eyed Wolf, Steppe Wolf King, Higurashi King, Giant Sheep King, Shadow Worm and more. On weekdays, Su Lin delegates the power of various departments to them. Therefore, with the appearance of all the commanders of this wolf-sized wolf, the atmosphere of the wolf pack will rise to the next level. The sky above the entire southern mountain range seemed to be burning with a raging fire. Only after the wolf pack's peak lineup was fully assembled did Su Lin take another step forward. A wolf howl accompanied by vast mental fluctuations immediately resounded throughout the entire southern mountains. Ouch! After the familiar wolf howl sounded, all the members of the 15th wolf pack couldn't hold back the burning passion and fanaticism in their hearts, and howled and neighed crazily. The momentum of the wolves, which has been dormant for a long time after the doomsday catastrophe, has completely reached its peak at this moment. Amidst this crazy neighing sound, the wildness of many members of the wolf pack increased again. The sense of chilling that originally filled the skies over the southern mountains has become almost materialized. The entire 15 wolf pack also became excited. They have been dormant for too long, and rested for too long. During this period, due to changes in the food distribution system, most species could only obtain very little food to sustain their survival. Therefore, I have long been eager to go out to gain military exploits and obtain the rewards of pure blood food. Now hearing the Wolf King's wolf roar accompanied by mental fluctuations, the fighting and murderous intent in their bodies was burning. Follow closely. There were a few more mental fluctuations in Selin, and he announced the goals and rewards of this expedition to all members of the wolf pack. The Fox Clan, Tiger Clan, Wolf Clan, Chilling Clan, Mobai Sandworm Swarm, and 300,000 fully armed elite warriors under Sander will go straight to the Hmong Kingdom and capture 2 blessed lands in the Hmong Kingdom. In addition, the 2 blessed lands were completely transformed into 2 war fortresses to prepare for more intense and cruel ethnic conflicts in the future. The battlefields in the direction of Hmong are all unified under the command of Hongwai. The Invincible Tiger, the Steppe Wolf King, the Chilling King, the Shadow Insect, and the newly promoted Ray Vale New Human are the frontline uniters of this Hmong Kingdom battlefield. In addition, the Flying Bird Clan, the Mecha and Alien Bodyguards, the Elite Alien Beast Group under Bai Dai, the 500,000 Elite Special Forces under Vincent, and the Ghost Cat Demon, who surrendered in Dahuo Kingdom last time followed Su Lin stepped through the Almo Mountains. The various ministries of the wolf pack that followed Su Lin were not as clear about the distribution of rights as the ministries that went to the Hmong Kingdom, because I believe that even if the commanders who follow Su Lin are blind and arrogant, they will never bare their teeth in front of the Wolf King. As for Sander, Silver Ring Viper, Black Rat, King Bison, Giant Sheep Clan, Black Demon Marten, Second Generation Fierce Falcon and their 500,000 elite birds, etc., they will serve as the garrison force in the southern mountains. All decisions in the southern mountains are handled by Sander and the Black Demon Sable. Sander has a stable nature, and as he is the supervisor of the transformation of the entire southern mountains, he is extremely familiar with the war fortress of the southern mountains. As for the Black Demon Marten bound by the talon of Soul Link, he is equivalent to Su Lin's spokesperson to a certain extent. Therefore, with Sander and Black Demon Marten stationed at the wolf base camp in the southern mountains, Su Lin felt relieved. Next, after several more mental fluctuations, Su Lin also issued the merits and rewards for this expedition. No matter what ethnic group they are, they must have enough rewards to make their members work hard for them. Otherwise, no matter how strong the force is to suppress, it will easily be counterattacked by the members under his command. And only with enough military exploits and rewards can the turbulent wildness and fighting spirit of the 15th Wolf Pack be maintained. The last time the wolves stepped out of the Arctic ice and massacred Siberia, the reward was 1/3 of the prey that could be eaten first. And now Su Lin decided to increase the reward. As his vast mental fluctuations swept over the entire southern mountains, the members of the wolf pack were also listening with great vigor. Next, after the meaning conveyed by the mental fluctuations was received by the members of the wolf pack, shock flashed in their eyes, because the rewards after this increase are so rich that they can hardly imagine it. Any prey hunted by members of the wolf pack is their own private blood food, and can be disposed of at will without any need to hand over any cents. All species captured and subdued by wolf pack members are their private servants, and there is no need to ask any other wolf for instructions. If there are 500 combat servants under the command of a member of the wolf pack, they will be promoted to the second wolf, and be rewarded with thousands of kilograms of pure blood food. There are wolf pack members who have 3,000 fighting servants under their command. They are granted the rank of a high-ranking wolf and are rewarded with 30,000 kilograms of pure blood food. There are wolf pack members who have 10,000 fighting servants. They conceal the ordinary wolf and reward them with 100,000 kilograms of pure blood food and the rest of the pure energy reserves. There are combat servants under the command of a member of the wolf pack. If the combat index reaches 50,000, the wolf will be promoted to a higher level and rewarded with 300,000 pure blood meals and the remaining pure energy reserves. The announcement of these reward rules caused an uproar among the entire wolf pack. Even the wolves standing behind the Wolf King couldn't help but feel a hint of horror flash across their faces, because such reward rules exceeded their expectations. Wolves have always been an outstanding representative race of group fighting. The food they hunt is basically distributed by the Wolf King. Later, as the number of wolves gradually increased and many species were incorporated, the rules for hunting food were gradually changed. However, only those members who hunt for food will be allocated more blood food, and most of the blood food needs to be turned over to the wolf pack. Even in the last bloody expedition to Siberia, the food distribution only reached 1/3. But now the prey can be directly privatized. This has never happened before among wolves, so you can imagine the shock in the hearts of the more than 20 million members of the 15th wolf pack at this time. At the same time, after the shock, there is uncontrollable excitement, because the privatization of prey means that whatever they pay for will be their own food. The wolf pack will never be divided again, the slightest bit, so the positivity this brings is unprecedented. In the upcoming bloody battlefield, they will truly fight for themselves. In the future, there will inevitably be the fiercest collision with the major evil groups, so Selin has decided to give all the gains during this period to the ambitious and capable members of his command. As long as the strength of each department of the wolf pack is improving and growing crazily, and batches of truly proud soldiers emerge, then everything will be worth it. In addition, among the 15 wolf pack parts, the members with B-wolf status and above are the ones who are shocked by the following ones. Captured and surrendered species will be directly converted into private war servants. Even they have no right to interfere. Such reward rules will undoubtedly direct most of the rewards obtained from future hunting and expansion to the heads of each member. This is also because Selin discovered that during the last expedition to the Siberian plains, countless members of the wolf pack had their military exploits captured by the bee-wolves and high-level bee-wolves under his command. Even the battle achievements of the second wolf and the high-level second wolf will be divided by the alpha wolf. Although Su Lin doesn't mind the competition between the wolves, he definitely doesn't want to see this kind of exploitation of the military achievements of his subordinates relying on the status of the second wolf leader. It's just that this kind of exploitation has appeared among wolves for a long time. All leaders are unavoidable. Therefore, if Su Lin wants to find out all those who have usurped military exploits, then probably 90% of the alien beasts above the entire pack of wolves will have to kneel in front of him. In this way, the wolf pack 15 can easily cause large-scale turmoil, so Su Lin did not do this. Now this direct change to the reward rules is to fundamentally solve the problem. Of course, no matter how perfect the reward system is, in a wolf pack where the strong are respected, this kind of snatching of food and misappropriation of military exploits cannot be completely prohibited. However, privatized blood food and slaves will stimulate the ambitions of various members of the wolf pack to the greatest extent. It seems that with the new reward rules issued by Su Lin, there will definitely be a group of strange beasts that are unwilling to be inferior to others and will rise rapidly. As for those members who have privatized all prey and captured species, and dare not risk their lives to protect them, then, there is nothing Selin can do. All we can say is that some members are born to be exploited. In addition, Su Lin raised the reward to such a shocking level, this time because the wolves are swarming, and the opponents he faces will no longer be the opponents before the doomsday catastrophe. Every ethnic group that can survive this unprecedented doomsday catastrophe is not easy to deal with. No one is weak, and no ethnic group will willingly allow themselves to be slaughtered. Even if they surrender, the Theological Alliance in the Central region has made a very bad start. From the surrendered ethnic groups, only select some with good growth potential and keep them, and kill the rest to serve as blood food. And this news has already spread like wildfire, spreading to many ethnic groups. So surrender, in such a dark doomsday era, has long become a joke. Maybe you surrendered one moment, but turned into bloody rations the next. Therefore, in such a dark doomsday era, with no humanity and no morality at all, even for a group of well-educated wolves, if they want to expand and conquer other species, it will be more difficult than before the doomsday catastrophe. Even if the reward is increased to this level, it may be difficult to expand the number of members. At this time, after the Wolf King issued the new reward rules, the entire wolf pack roared with tidal waves, and after a few seconds of silence, they became even more excited and crazy. The screams of more than 20 million species seemed to overthrow the entire southern mountain range. The tiger is out of the cage. The goshawk soars into the sky. At this moment, the commanders standing behind Su Lin looked at their subordinates, who were so excited and crazy. Everyone knows that such an unprecedented reward has completely ignited the ambition in their hearts. Driven by this burning ambition, the already ferocious wolves will unleash such terrifying combat power that even they cannot predict. At this time, after the members of the wolf pack screamed wildly for a full 3/4 of an hour, Red Tail, Charming Fox, Prairie Wolf King, Hither King, Shadowbug, etc. took the lead in bidding farewell to the Wolf King, and led their members out of the southern mountains, heading to the Hmong Kingdom in the south. There are millions of species moving at every turn, as mighty as a black torrent, spectacular to the extreme, and this scene has long been caught in the eyes of some new humans, and other spies from the monster race, who have been squatting in the distance of the southern mountains. Nowadays, no ethnic group is a fool, and detecting intelligence has long become the most basic operation. As the largest force in the northern forest and cold zone, The Arctic wolves are truly stupid if any group or human force dares to ignore the Arctic wolves. Even though the Arctic wolves have been dormant for more than 3 months and have not taken any action, all major ethnic groups and human forces are still watching and detecting this behemoth day and night, because everyone knows that this dormant behemoth will shake the earth if it does not move. Nowadays, the army of millions of wolves swarming out from the southern mountains illustrates this point. Therefore, during the surveillance and squatting, a lot of news was spread back to other monster groups and humans in power. It's just obvious that there's much more to the Arctic wolf pack out there. After another moment of silence, spies from various monster groups and major human forces saw another army of millions of wolves filing out, and the one at the front of the wolf pack was a silver-haired giant wolf that was a full 150 to 60 meters tall. Surrounding the silver-haired giant wolf are dozens of strange beasts that exude extremely powerful arrogance. Spreading its wings, it was a giant Arctic swallow that was more than 100 meters tall, with a red head and a black back. There was endless, fighting intent and ferociousness flashing through the narrow eyes of this Arctic swallow. It has gray hair and is only about 20 meters tall. It seems to flicker in and out every time it moves. There is almost no ghost cat demon in this world, only more than 3 meters tall. A pair of white wings danced gracefully, like a white elf butterfly. A falcon wearing a special mecha with dark flowing light scanned the surroundings coldly, with a pair of extremely dark eyes. In addition, there are sables, ferocious cats, mad cows and other powerful beasts that have already transformed into new species. These strange beasts were arranged around the silver-haired giant wolf like stars over the moon, making the silver-haired giant wolf look like a god on patrol. There is one more chapter. It will be a little later. Everyone go to bed early. But even though they were hidden, they were far away from the southern mountains. But this silver-haired giant wolf, who looked like a god, noticed them as soon as he stepped out of the southern mountains. The pale blue eyes of the silver-haired giant wolf turned slightly blood-black in an instant. Just a moment, just a simple glance, but I don't know how many new humans and elite beasts from various groups who were monitoring and detecting the southern mountains died in an instant, their bodies bursting in the air or on the spot. Even some of the alien beasts and new humans who left to report the news died on the way. Only some new humans who were far away and wearing perfect level meshes, and the king beasts of various evil groups, could bear the look of the Wolf King without dying. But they were all seriously injured, and they all began to run away in panic with eyes full of horror. The Arctic Wolf King is getting stronger again. This invincible being that defeated the god of speed before the catastrophe has become stronger again. The power of one glance, being able to directly kill any species below the king beast from hundreds of miles away in the void. What kind of incredible combat power is this? Even the rapid golden withering after the breakthrough would never reach such appalling combat power. I'm afraid only the bloodthirsty python and the mysterious sea monster can have such combat power, right? At this time, all the new humans who were lucky enough to survive and the king beasts of each evil group had no time to care about the life and death of their subordinates, and they were running away like crazy. Even the vast majority of those who survived fled to different directions separately, because whether they are alien beasts or humans, they have long known that the Wolf King is unparalleled in the world, so the only way to survive is to split up and run away. But it was obvious that Su Lin glanced at them indifferently, then withdrew his gaze again, and did not pursue them. After all, these are just miscellaneous fish that we came here to explore. Even if you kill them all, it will have no effect. Instead of doing this, it is better to let these miscellaneous fish bring the news of the birth of the wolf pack back to their respective forces and groups. Su Lin also wanted to see, after he left the southern mountains, which group would come to test the level of the wolf pack, or maybe come to explore the reality of the southern mountains, which is the most blessed place among the world, the Moon Kingdom, and the Arctic ice sheet. If anyone really wants to attack the southern mountains, then if they can do the first grade of junior high school, don't blame yourself for doing the 15th grade. Relying on his unparalleled speed and the newly awakened Sirius wings, it can be said that the world is so big that there are few who can stop Su Lin. And after all the members of the wolf pack swarmed out of the southern mountains during this expedition, the southern mountains entered a state of complete closure and combat readiness. Under Sanders' command, all external Superior minefields were opened, and the most sophisticated ballistic missile defense system was also put into wartime mode. These 2 layers of defense alone can stop mutant creatures at the extreme king level and below. If a large-scale group attacks, it will also require the lives of countless members to break through the minefields and ballistic missile defense systems. After the 2 layers of defense, there are also human front-line defenses and battle forts. They all have super ion cannons designed to kill powerful alien beasts, large armor-piercing projectiles, rapid fire cannons to kill ordinary alien beasts, incendiary bombs with temperatures of hundreds of thousands of degrees Celsius, etc. Further inside, there are rats and snakes that rely on the terrain of the mountains. These rat tides and snake swarms are located in every corner. Even the sonic talent cannot do much damage to the complex terrain of the southern mountains, especially among the rat tide and the snake group. Several have transformed into king beasts, and dozens of near-king level beings. With the talent bonus of the silver ring viper and black rat group, and also under the siege and containment of these king beasts and near-king level alien rat vipers, the power that the rat tide and snake group can unleash cannot be underestimated. In addition, due to the rat tide and snake swarm, there are countless members carrying corrosive stomach acid and venom. Even the ultimate king beast is at risk of falling if it is caught in a siege and cannot escape quickly. As for the half-step world-destroying beast, both the original power and the explosive power contained in its body are too huge. It is difficult to break through the defense simply by relying on venom and corrosive gastric acid. However, they can still rely on their numerical advantage to wear down their original power and physical strength. Once it reaches the point of exhaustion, even if it is half destroyed, it will not be much better. In addition to these layers of defense, there are also the charging bison and the giant sheep, the 8th generation killing fighter and the ultimate mecha, the black demon mink, etc. that are left behind. It can be said that even if there is no wolf king in the southern mountains, its defensive power is still extremely powerful. With such layers of defense, even if more than 20 or 30 half-step world-destroying beings join forces to attack, they may not be able to see the main cave of the wolf pack. In addition, as for Sander and the troops stationed in the southern mountains, as long as the southern mountains are safe and sound, they will be rewarded with pure blood food when they return. It can also be regarded as a garrison reward for these wolves to garrison various ministries. It's just that these garrison rewards cannot be compared with the rewards of going out for expeditions. After all, the dangers of going out for an expedition are quite different from those of garrisoning in the southern mountains. At this time, after Su Lin Dandan looked away, he roared again. The nighthawks, ghost cat demons, arctic swallows, etc., who were following him also neighed, and began to urge the wolves to take action, especially Arctic Yanu. After asking the Wolf King for instructions, he fluttered his wings and started heading straight for Mount Alma with more than 100,000 of his most elite exotic birds. Soldiers are expensive and fast. Arctic Yanu suddenly wanted to be the first to try out how deep the water in the so-called blessed land of Alma Mountain was. And just when the Arctic swallows fluttered their wings and headed straight for Mount Alma, the rest of the fleeing king beasts and perfect level mecha warriors, who had detected the news that the Wolf King was leaving the southern mountains, also went straight to the major evil groups and all human forces at extremely fast speeds. The Arctic Wolves were officially born, and the news that the Arctic Wolf King stepped out of the southern mountains also spread along with these fleeing king beasts and perfect mecha warriors. For a moment, the world, which had been burned red by the flames of war and the blood of various ethnic groups was flowing everywhere, began to shake again. The speeds of the perfect level mecha warriors and all the king beasts are extremely fast. Just an hour or two later, the elite bird family under the command of the Arctic Tern had just arrived at Mount Almo. Almost all major monster groups and human forces have received news of the birth of Arctic wolves. Just like the birth of the Scientific Union and the Theological Union, they are both major events in the world today. The human forces within the territory of the Great Self breathed a sigh of relief after learning that the Arctic wolves were born on a large scale and headed to the Alma Mountains. After all, the official forces of the Great Self are closely adjacent to the Arctic wolves. If the Arctic wolves really swing their swords at them, it will be difficult to resist them. After discussions among the senior officials of our officialdom, they all decided to take advantage of the time when the Arctic wolves were out on Mount Alma to capture these two nearby blessed lands. Under the order of the Supreme Commander, the official forces within the territory of Dame also officially began to carry out an all-out siege on the two blessed places. The Hand of God has also been completely activated. It's just that I didn't abuse nuclear weapons too much, nor did I want to destroy the two blessed places. So the Hand of God just activated the Super Ion ballistic system. A Super Ion missile with a large tonnage is now flying directly towards two blessed places, and all the mecha warriors and aerial fighters within the territory of the Great Self are also in full action. The fierce battle begins in the western part of the country. On the eastern Siberian plain, as the Arctic Yanu arrived on the Alma Mountains, they also launched a siege here. For a time, the last piece of pure land that was originally quiet and peaceful was swept away. There is shopping and fighting everywhere in the world, and a few hours later, when Su Lin led the large army of wolves and just arrived at Mount Almo, it was discovered that Arctic Yanu had already led more than 100,000 alien birds, and the fierce battle with the ethnic groups on the Almo Mountains had reached a fever pitch. The Siberian plain had been completely cleared by wolves, and those that had not been expanded by wolves were almost all ordinary species. The same goes for the species on the Almo Mountains, but now, these ordinary species on Mount Almo have become extremely huge one by one, with indescribable blood in their eyes. Originally there were only about 100,000 ordinary species, but they were fighting with more than 100,000 elite alien birds, led by Arctic Yanu to the point where they were inseparable. The sharp and clear call of the Arctic Tern resounded over this fierce battlefield. At this time, Arctic Yan's S-level passion talent has reached its peak. The speed and attack power have reached the point where it can severely damage the ultimate king beast, but it is still tightly entangled by one of the light and shadow clones. This light and shadow clone is also a flying bird in the air, even more ferocious, and the light and shadow also brings out an aura of vicissitudes that is not in line with the current era. After Su Lin and the wolf troop arrived, the aerial bird transformed by light and shadow once again fought with Arctic Yanu, and then distanced themselves. Soon after the bird transformed by light and shadow swept over Arctic Yanu, he saw Su Lin. Immediately after that pair of eyes, hidden in the light and shadow, there was overwhelming hatred, just like the hatred of a ghost from the underworld when he crawled out of hell and saw his own blood feud. Because this light and shadow bird is not another species, it is the thundering sky eagle that Su Lin killed on the Arctic ice sheet more than 3 years ago. Shamanic totem. Su Lin's powerful senses naturally noticed this light and shadow bird when he was approaching here. At this moment, feeling the overwhelming hatred rising from the thundering sky eagle, his blue wolf eyes also aroused a touch of interest, and he suddenly felt that this trip to the Almo Mountains was going to be very interesting. However, after Su Lin and the thundering sky eagle transformed by this light and shadow looked at each other for a moment, he raised his eyes and looked at the top of Almo Mountain, because there is a figure also shrouded in light and shadow, but this figure is obviously more powerful. Even the light and shadow that transformed into the thundering sky eagle are from the same sect as it, and not only that, this figure also exudes dense regular lines, which connect all species on the entire Almo Mountain. It is because of the existence of these rule lines that the originally weak species in Almo Mountain can withstand the attack of the elite alien birds under Arctic Yan's command. The body in this light and shadow. The shadow seems to be simply standing there, just like the rules are standing there. It is the rule, ancestor species, undoubted ancestral species, and now the figure in this light and shadow is also looking down at Su Lin. The sights and rising momentum between the two sides were intertwined in the sky above the ancient mountain range of Mount Almo. During the confrontation between Su Lin and this light and shadow that covered the regular lines, he also checked the numerical attributes of this light and shadow. Species, immortal bird, ancestral species. Level 67, not restored. Chi and blood, 61,268. Endurance, 4,756. Strength, 5,023. Defense, 4,352. Speed, 5,763. And in B+ level, Endless Life, S level, Cloud Collapse, S level, Absolute Defense, S+ level, Ultimate Kill, S+ level. Secret Technique, the soul of the deceased returns. This powerful existence hidden in the light and shadow, with gorgeous numerical attributes, appeared in Su Lin's field of vision. Level 67. Even if the rules, original power, and the power of the source of divinity are not counted, such numerical attributes are enough to run rampant in this world. And during the observation, Su Lin had already opened his extreme vision and discovered the true form of this ancestral species through light and shadow. It is a pure white eagle bird, which is very similar to the thundering sky eagle, but it is closer to the totem and God's temperament than the thundering sky eagle, because white symbolizes purity and wonder. In the consciousness of shamanists, this is a color that requires gratitude, and this pure white eagle is still changing vaguely. This is because the source of divinity and the rules of life rising around it are too powerful. The appearance of the white eagle really resembles the god in shamanistic legends. Soon this white eagle also spread its spiritual will, trying to scare Su Lin and the wolves. Because it has not fully recovered, it does not want to have a real life and death battle with Su Lin. This blessed land also hides the unknown secrets of shamanism, and there are reasons why it must be protected. The spiritual will of the white eagle came from the top of Almo Mountain with condescending pressure. It's just that spiritual will is different from spiritual soul power. It doesn't have much lethality, but it has pressure that directly acts on the depth of soul will. This is derived from the great leap forward in life levels after being promoted to ancestral species. In addition to mental coercion, spiritual will also has many wonderful uses. Not only can you mix in the source of divinity and survive to other eras, but you can also seize the bodies of contemporary species, become a king and an ancestor. It can be said that after being promoted to the ancestral species, it has truly transcended the life level limitations of contemporary species. Even wanting to truly kill an ancestral species, especially one with the source of divinity, is not that easy at all. Only by completely eradicating the source of its divinity and spiritual will can all its vitality be truly wiped out. At this time, the White Eagle's spiritual will was exerting pressure, but what it never thought of was, just when his spiritual will was lowered, these members of the wolf pack, who were enveloped in the scope of his spiritual will, showed no fear at all, because this mighty mental coercion cannot suppress their extremely fanatical trust in their wolf king. And faced with such tyrannical mental pressure, Arctic swallows, ghost cat demons, nighthawks, white butterflies, sables, fierce cats and other king beasts all stood up and roared at the top of the mountain. Following closely behind the wolf pack, millions of species began to neigh crazily. The resistance of the will and screams of millions of species quickly shook the will of the white eagle back. Immediately after he groaned, the white hawk's eyes slightly overflowed with traces of white blood. However, the white blood was evaporated into gas in an instant, and returned to the light and shadow again. Before the giant white wolf standing proudly took action, its spirit and will were shaken back. It was obvious that the ferocity of this wolf pack, and their almost fanatical trust in the wolf king exceeded his expectations. Originally, the white eagle wanted to try to split the wolf pack, and gather some of them for his own use, but this showed that it was unnecessary. Because of such a wolf pack, I am afraid that except for their king dying in battle, there is only the slightest possibility of defecting to other packs. What is even more likely is that even if their king dies in battle, they will still fight to the end on the road to revenge. So the white eagle, which was originally peaceful, also put away its initial gentleness at this time. In a pair of eyes transformed by white light and shadow, the cold murderous intent was no longer concealed. Since peace talks are impossible, since there is no way to retreat, even if it doesn't want to fight to the death, so what? So after understanding this, the aura of the white eagle, that was already colliding with the white wolf, suddenly increased to a higher level. Immediately after the sky and the earth, the white light and shadow all over its body suddenly exploded, accompanied by a roar. All the species on Mount Almo are also chirping like crazy. They were already extremely huge, but they suddenly grew even bigger during this cry. Then without any explanation, he attacked and killed the nearest member of the wolf pack. At the same time, the light and shadow around the white eagle also transformed into strange beasts of light and shadow again. This light and shadow beast is none other than the existence that followed it and managed to survive. The energy fluctuations emitted by each light and shadow are no less than those transformed thundering sky eagle, and it seems that every light and shadow beast seems to have a mind. After they all neighed respectfully towards the white eagle, they followed the species on Mount Almo and charged towards the wolves. The white eagle is the most powerful existence in the previous era and has a deeper understanding of the rules. What it masters is the rules of life. In addition, it also has the spiritual source left behind by the totems it once commanded. Coupled with the endless growth of talents, the combat power of the transformed shamanistic totems is not inferior to the forcibly resurrected Crazy Thunder Sky Eagle, and some of them are even better than the original Crazy Thunder Sky Eagle. At the same time, the S-level cloud piercing and sky piercing talent was suddenly activated. The white eagle in this light and shadow flaps its wings and soars directly into the sky. Then, relying on the favorable location from top to bottom, a sound wave that penetrated the clouds and collapsed the sky was launched. The sonic talent of piercing the clouds and collapsing the sky is very common even among exotic beasts in this era, but this was the first time Su Lin encountered the Chuan Yunbingkong, who truly reached the S level, and NB level to S level is a real threshold, and NB level to S level requires a full 5. Therefore, Su Lin had only encountered one S level sonic talent, whether during the bloody massacre in the southern mountains or in the Gobi Desert. That is the speedy golden eagle, who also has unparalleled speed and unparalleled strength. Now I suddenly met the second one. At this time, the vast fluctuations caused by the S-level cloud-piercing sonic talent are unimaginable. In an instant, it fell directly from mid-air, as if the gods were roaring. And this sound wave was extremely concentrated, heading straight for Su Lin. The white eagle obviously wanted to kill the wolf king directly. From the scene where the wolves fought against the mental pressure just now, it already knew that this wolf king was the backbone of the entire wolf pack, and the spirit of the entire wolf pack. As long as this wolf king is around, the entire wolf pack will have nothing to fear, even if its rules of life and talent for endless life are once again against the sky. The species on Mount Ulmo that it controls are too weak and cannot withstand the siege of wolves for too long, so it was ready to kill the wolf king and break up the spirit of the entire wolf pack. Boom. Just when the huge sound waves gathered by the Chuan Yunbingkong talent went straight towards the giant white wolf, the white eagle noticed that the giant white wolf made no move to dodge, and its pair of blue wolf eyes just looked at it calmly. Then the white eagle was shocked to find that an unprecedentedly vast picture of serious howling at the moon suddenly appeared in the sky where the blood mist had not completely dissipated. Immediately afterwards, an unimaginably powerful sound wave came directly from the white wolf into the sky. With the white eagle's eyesight, he could only vaguely capture the speed of this sound wave. Boom. This sound wave carried a huge roar in the air and directly collided with his own sound wave that traveled through the clouds and collapsed the sky. But before the huge sound wave cloud came out, after the earth-shattering wolf howl sound wave, another sound wave came to attack. Double serious roaring moon? The sonic talent of the white eagle was completely defeated by the double serious Xiaoyo. Following this extremely powerful wolf howling sound wave, he counterattacked towards it from bottom to top. Even though the white eagle dodged very quickly, it was still hit halfway by the wolf howling sound wave. Being in the light and shadow, it suddenly felt like it was hit hard and flew higher into the sky again. Even the white light and shadow on his body became scattered and spread out in this wolf howling sound wave. Streams of blood also flowed from the eagle's beak. A few seconds after the white eagle flew across the air, it heard two wolf howls that shook the world. In their confrontation at this level, the speed of sound propagation has become as slow as a turtle crawling. The white eagle, which had suffered sonic trauma, had extremely solemn eyes hidden in the light. This wolf king is very strong. Moreover, when he was injured, the white eagle also changed its shape to prevent the wolf king from taking advantage of the situation and chasing him. This fighting instinct has been integrated into its DNA. Even if he has just recovered, he still has this kind of subconscious defensive action, because in the previous era, it had experienced no less life and death battles than Su Lin. But just when it changed its position and stabilized its figure, it discovered that the giant wolf king was not chasing him at all. The new species may also be subject to genetic limitations, and there is nothing that can be done about the species with air supremacy. But an existence of white wolf's level would never do that. Even if you just rely on the strength of your body, you can reach tens of thousands of meters in the air. Even if you rely on the extremely powerful source power, you can temporarily gain air superiority. But just when its eyes glanced downwards, it discovered the reason why the white wolf didn't chase after him. I saw the huge figure of the white wolf move with dreamlike speed and sonic boom cloud, running straight towards the transformed Thunder Sky Eagle. At this time, Su Lin, whose fighting and killing intent was boiling over, did not take the lead in hunting down the white eagle with all his strength, but ran at this crazy thundering eagle. It's not that he thinks this thundering sky eagle is so important in this battlefield, just because the resentment in the eyes of this thundering sky eagle is too deep. It was as if he was a terrifying evil ghost, staring at Su Lin fiercely all the time. Su Lin is used to doing everything he can to deal with every opponent, so when he tortured and killed Mad Thunder Sky Eagle, the methods he used were indeed cruel and inhumane. But use it. This world is originally a place where the weak eat the strong. From the moment Kwang Lei Tianying decided to revive that day, he had to be willing to admit defeat. Now that he's here, now that he's met this former enemy, he doesn't mind killing him again.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.